online music discussion can be a tricky thing. One thing I've realized is that no matter how right or wrong you are, you're always wrong. But at the end of the day, your opinion is your opinion, and you don't need to change anyone else's. That said, some takes are a little hotter than others. So I asked you guys what your hottest music takes are, and I will be the judge on whether they are truly hot or cold. Let's begin. Brockhampton was definitely a phase, and most of their catalog did/will not age very well. Look, honestly, I think enough time has passed that we can agree it was a phase. For me personally, Saturation 1 through 3 was an unbeatable trilogy, and at the time there was nothing like it. All of them had their own unique flows and sounds, and the beats were so good, and on top of that they were putting out more music in a shorter span than most people have done in their career. But after Saturation, they were never really the same for me, and you could maybe credit some of that to Amir being kicked out of the group, which I mean was for good reasons, but his performances were kind of a big draw to a lot of their tracks, so without having someone to sort of take over that role that Amir had, it just felt like they were kind of missing something after that point. Everything they put out after that I was kind of less and less interested in, until Roadrunner, which was a pretty great album, and then the final two albums were just kind of, I don't know. One of them was just old unused songs, and then the other was a Kevin Abstract album. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree they're on to bigger and better things now. 20th century classical is just metal without electricity. Holy shit, that's kind of crazy. I have noticed there are kind of a lot of things that metal takes from classical music, like the sort of grand composition style of instruments, some of the chord progressions. Both genres have a weirdly elitist fan base. There actually are a lot of similarities there. Was Beethoven just one of the first rock stars? The Beatles are perfectly rated, and I'm tired of everyone hating on them. Okay, I will admit I've been a bit of a hater in the past, but the thing is I always did it as a joke, because like they're obviously such a hugely influential band that like obviously it's a joke if I say they suck and are overrated, because I mean, they're the Beatles. And it's not the funniest joke, but that's how I've seen it in the past. But I know there are people that are genuinely hating on them, but they're probably like 13 years old. Can you blame them? That stuff's ancient. Rap sucks, the music and the culture surrounding it. For example, the current Drake thing. Okay, if you're watching this from the distant future or the distant past, the Drake thing they're referring to is the Kendrick and Drake beef, which has escalated so far that I think a lot of people that aren't usually interested in the rap music sphere are hearing about it. And for some reason, I've seen a lot of like boomers be like, oh, this stuff's not even real. It's all for the streams and the clout. It's all just set up by their record label. Which just immediately shows that you haven't looked into any of it. Because I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody on earth would be willing to be forever known as a certified PDF file just for maybe some streams or attention. But anyway, with the rap sucks comment, I mean, you're either a metal elitist or a classical elitist, which I don't know which one's worse. Or you're just like an angry person that doesn't like music that much. I don't know what to tell you. This one's stupid. You suck. It's not even a hot take, it's just dumb. People who are against wearing merch for the band they are seeing are incredibly stupid. Who's against that? Is that a thing? I don't think I've ever heard of people being against other people wearing merch for the artists they're seeing. They're just showing their support. I would think of all places that's kind of like the place that you should wear that. It's just to show like, hey, I'm a fan. I've been a fan since before this concert. I'm a fan. What's wrong with that? I'm surprised anybody gets mad at that. I think if anything, it should be encouraged. TikTok songs are popular for a reason, and that reason being they're just good songs. You know, I like the attitude. I don't think a lot of people realize that there's a lot of songs that are huge on TikTok, but the conversion rate of people going and streaming those songs is still super low. So your song might have like a catchy 15-second snippet that makes it super viral on TikTok, but when people go to listen to the song and the rest of it isn't that great, they're just gonna listen to hear that part and then like never listen again. But I think a good example of an actually good song on TikTok is the Joe song End of Beginning, because I've been a Joe fan for a while since his first album, which was really good. So I've been listening to End of Beginning and that whole Decide album since it dropped in 2022. And I'm not trying to brag and be like, I'm a real fan, but I'm just saying like the music is good, and he's an artist that like purely does it as a hobby because obviously his main thing is acting. So like he's not trying to make a TikTok song. And I think that's why it blew up super hard and has so many streams now. I don't even know how many. It's right there. Because the song itself without that individual part is all really good. I think it's a little more nuanced than people think. Liking mainstream music isn't basic, they're popular for a reason. I like this attitude too, but I'd like to ask you something. Do you think Imagine Dragons is one of the best bands you've ever heard? Imagine Dragons make such mall music and have gotten huge because of it, because it's so unoffensive and earwormy that it's perfect for ads and it's everywhere. So I agree there's a lot of popular musicians that are popular solely because they're great, like The Weeknd, but there's a lot that are popular solely because they make music for commercials. Pop peaked in 2010 and nobody has been able to recreate the hype since. I actually made a whole video about this. I don't know if I would say peaked, and I recognize there's a little bit of nostalgia associated with it, but there is something special about 2010's pop music that like can just instantly put me in a good mood. Go back and listen to like Call Me Maybe or any of Sean Kingston's hits. There's like nothing with that vibe these days. And it's a little sad, but I don't know, I have hope. I don't think we've hit the peak yet. Not trying to go to obvious things, but I love Whole Lotta Red much more than any other Carti albums. Got my own reasons. Damn, who hurt you? I think this honestly depends on whether you were a big fan of Carti's old stuff, because I wasn't really at the time, and when Whole Lotta Red came out, I was like, oh my god, I kinda love this. And it's only been since Whole Lotta Red that I've really been a Carti fan, but I've seen the opposite side, because one of my friends was a huge fan of Carti before Whole Lotta Red, and after Whole Lotta Red, he hates him. So I personally like the change of sounds, but I can understand mourning the old Carti. We need more innovative music videos. I agree. I was just thinking about this recently, because there was a time where music videos were like a genuine art. Like there's some music videos that are basically just short films. And I agree, they've basically died off. There have been a few I've seen recently that have kind of reignited my hope for that medium. Soulbreaker by AHHHH, amazing music video. It's like a whole animated epic squeezed into 4 minutes. And The Cheerleader by Porter Robinson had a sick music video with some of the coolest editing tricks and camera work I've seen in a while. So it's definitely being done still, but really only by big artists that are able to fund their own, because I think it's just become like too much money and too much work to make a whole music video, when at this point your time would be better spent making a 15-second TikTok. So yeah, I agree. One day Tom Holland will release an album and it's gonna suck. This is such a funny thing to just say. Does he even make music? Has he done anything to make you think this? I already feel bad for Tom Holland. I feel like he's dug himself in a marble hole, and all his roles since then have kind of like sucked. I'm really rooting for a win for Tom, so if he does release an album, I hope it doesn't suck. SOPHIE is more influential to modern music than anyone. First of all, rest in peace, SOPHIE. One of the best producers of our time, so sad. I would without a doubt say that SOPHIE is one of the most influential producers on modern pop music, but also pop production has kind of been seeping into a lot of other genres lately. So honestly, with how a lot of modern music sounds now, you could be right. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is the most overrated album ever written. I don't know about the most overrated. I feel like maybe that should go to In an Aeroplane Over the Sea, but I do think with a lot of stuff from that era, it hasn't aged the best. It's never been one of my favorite Kanye albums, just because I'm personally not super into the like grand production. But I don't know, I think at some point it may have been overrated, but at this point I feel like I hear the same amount on each side of people saying it's overrated and people saying it's the best album they've ever heard. So I feel like it's pretty accurately rated. Music that doesn't use instruments is usually worse than music that uses them. God, this sounds like my mom. I don't agree in the slightest. I also don't agree that anything can't be considered an instrument. I understand if you're like older, not fully understanding how people are able to make music on their computers, but that doesn't mean that constructing sounds in that way isn't an instrument in itself, or any less than using a physical instrument. I think there is something to be said about physical instruments in music, that like using live drums, for example, is pretty noticeable compared to a drum machine. But as someone that mostly listens to music without physical instruments in them, I would personally have to disagree here. Damn is the best hip-hop / rap album. I mean, he did win a Pulitzer Prize for it. I was gonna try to give an example of like a better album here, but I can't. Because even compared to his other albums, I think there's something to say about Damn sort of accomplishing every aspect of the field. You know? Like, as amazing as T-Pab is in what it does, you can't really say it's like the best rap album, because it's kind of more of like a jazz, soul concept album. It doesn't really have that much like traditional rappy rap. But with Damn, he's kind of combined everything in a really succinct way. It just feels very focused in. It's not my favorite of his even. I can't really argue with you. There's no such thing as an industry plant. Okay. I don't think that's true. There's definitely some industry plants out there, but I do think the term is kind of thrown around these days, especially with TikTok culture. I have witnessed a lot of artists that I've been listening to for years suddenly blow up online and be instantly called an industry plant just because they weren't all over your For You page every day. Like recently, Tommy Richmond with $1 Million Baby. I've been listening to him for years and been kind of keeping up with him, like honing his sound, and then the snippet of his song just blew up on social media for some reason, and so many people are instantly like,
God, another industry plant.
That's just the nature of social media. As an artist making good music and posting snippets of it, you're probably bound for one of them to get kind of viral at some point. Same with Tizo Touchdown, which has been one of my favorite artists for the past like 3 years, and has talked about how he's been grinding trying to make it through for like 10 years at this point. So there's definitely some out there, but I don't think they're as common as people think. That's all for today. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my assessment of these takes and what other kind of poll you think I should do next. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like. And if you really liked the video, hit the subscribe button. Come on, do it. It would be so sick if you hit it. Bye.